Hello, and welcome to Your Sparkly Brand. We are here to inspire and empower female entrepreneurs just like you. On this podcast, we share valuable how-to content, discuss common mindset challenges, as well as interview kick-ass women business owners about their journeys. In a world that tries to pit females together, Your Sparkly Brand is celebrating supporting women, nurturing the next generation, and uplifting each other. I'm Megan Gersh, and I'm here with my co-host, Lauren Tassi.
Hey, Meg, how's it going?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm excited to be doing this podcast again today. I'm starting to really look forward to it and, get excited about doing something different than, just the regular business stuff I do every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I wanted to, before we jump into what we're going to talk about today, I just finished this book that I feel like anybody who works in marketing or, has a business that they're trying to grow would find interesting. And also anybody who is into cults or weird religious stuff, also highly recommend. I literally just, I requested it from the library for Alex. Cause even though he doesn't, he doesn't think of himself as building a business. I was just like, he'd love this book too. And it's called Cultish, The Language of Fanaticism. And it's by Amanda Montell. And so she basically, I don't want to spoil anything, but she kind of goes through what are the words and sort of the messaging and the tactics that these cult leaders use to get people on board. And she starts by talking about cults. And then the next section, she starts talking about religion. And she talks about Scientology and, sort of that kind of thing. And then from there, she takes it to talking about, how there's kind of workout cults, right? Like Soul Cycle or CrossFit, and how they're using a lot of the same tactics that the cult leaders are using in the same sort of messaging to get people to really, belong and identify with, the fitness brand they're promoting. And then she goes on to talk about influencers and, that sort of thing. So I found it fascinating. And I think just sort of, and also kind of being aware of what you're doing too. Something I do, I actually talk about this on my website. I talk about this when I'm talking with clients, just, you want to build a cult-like following for your brand. And now it's something I'm actually kind of maybe going to take a step back from a little bit, just to I think cult-like is a good word because it's polarizing and it does, you're either drawn or taken from it, but it also there's a history there and it's a dark history. And is that something I want to be, promoting or, using to polarize. So it's something that has given me a lot of food for thought too. So I recommend this book. We'll put a link in the show notes too, but it's super cool.
Yeah, that's such a great example. And I think that, these brands, these groups, they're really selling that lifestyle, right? They're selling this could be you, all shiny and new, or if you want to be like us, then this is what you need to do. So that's super interesting. I need to check that out.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. So let's do our sparkly moments. What was your sparkly moment of the week this week?
So over this past weekend, I did go to a music festival. So fun. I got to hang out with my husband, Jerry, as well as two other friends that went with us. And just coming back into the work week, I think I always feel just so grateful for coming back. And when you have your own business, you never need to ask for PTO, right? And you always have that freedom to kind of ease back into the work week. And so yesterday when we got back, I kind of took the day. I don't want to say I took the day completely off. I did a few light emailing type things, but kind of made sure that no fires were going on. And then I kind of just took the day to kind of unwind and relax and take the rest of the day with my husband. So it was awesome.
Oh my God. I love when I can do that. That's when you really soak up that appreciation for having your own business, because I remember working for other people and be like, oh my God, I could not go to work right now, and just not having to is so good.
Yeah, for sure. What about you?
Yeah. So my sparkly moment is a little silly, but we moved 6 months ago, right? It's been 6 months since we moved into our new apartment. I have my own office. It's amazing, but I basically got the furniture in place and then did nothing in terms of decorating. And I literally have on my vision board, yes, I'm a vision board person. I have a really cute office that's all pink and green. And I was like, that's what I'm going to do. And then I realized that there's literally painting sitting on the floor of my office for 6 months and nothing on the walls, just because I've got this idea of what I want my office to look like. And then also it's been getting darker earlier. So I'm realizing there's no overhead lighting in my office. So I was getting to the point where I was like, okay, I actually need to go buy a lamp. Otherwise I'm not gonna be able to work. I'm not gonna be able to take calls after a certain time. So I just sort of stepped up and have put stuff on the walls in here. I bought a light, I'm just sort of owning that this is my office now, and it doesn't need to be like this perfect thing, but it's now much more functional and much more enjoyable because it's not like an empty room.
I don't know if the same goes for you too, but I feel like when I really make my space my own, it just makes that like work, relaxing, just being there, just so much more enjoyable.
Exactly. And that's like, and I think I had like such high standards where it's like, okay, well, why don't you pick the thing off the floor and put it on the wall? And that's way better than expecting to find the most perfect painting when you don't even go look at paintings,
We're kicking it back to the perfectionism episode here.
Call back. All right. So let's get into it. What are we talking about today?
So today we are talking about finding our ideal clients and customers. So finding out like who they are, how do you find them, and what does an ideal customer or client even mean? Just so that we're clear, we will be using the terms client, customer avatar kind of interchangeably throughout the podcast. Basically, all the concepts are the same, whether you sell products or services. So
let's talk about what exactly an ideal client is. Because I feel like we hear it so much in marketing. We see, I talk to clients or I see people posting about like, well, we know our ideal clients. What does that mean? And to me, it's who you're creating things for. It's, if I make a coffee mug, who is this coffee mug for? Is it for everyone who drinks coffee? Maybe. Or is it, is it pink and does it have, does it say girl power on it? Because those are two completely different audiences. And a lot of times people think, well, I want everyone to buy my coffee mug, but there are so many coffee mugs out there. Your marketing tactics are going to work better if you can narrow it down and think, well, I want a 32-year-old girl who, believes in herself and, mom is a mom and drinks her coffee in the morning and sees her girl power coffee mug and gets excited about it, because that's going to be a happy customer. That's going to be somebody who talks about your brand, somebody who is a repeat customer and shares your story. So that's in my mind, that's one component of an ideal client. Another component is like someone who you can help, to moving more towards talking about services. If you're a coach or you're, selling a course or something, you want somebody who's open-minded and like coachable, somebody who you can actually help, where this person who's maybe going through a really tough time needs, is trying to build a business, but doesn't know what to do, is really stuck in their ways, versus somebody who's open and willing to learn, in my mind, is much more of an ideal client versus somebody who, well, you could help them, but if they're not open to learning, you're not going to be able to help them grow their business.
Yeah, exactly. And I've talked to people before too that there are different levels of services that you can provide, whether that is done with you or done for you services. And I've had conversations with people in the past where some people just want their products to be sold, right? They don't want anything to do with the marketing. They don't want to have to, put the effort in to create the content, to make the assets. But at some level, as a business owner, you have to be involved with the marketing at some level. You either have to provide the product to, for somebody else to make the content, or you have to make the content on your end and like have somebody edit it in a way that is presentable for the brand. So let's talk a little bit about why you need to identify your ideal client. So what if the person that comes to you says that they want to sell to everyone? Usually what I tell my clients is that when you try to sell to everyone, you wind up speaking to no one. It's very, very hard to try to please everyone in that way. When you try to focus your audience a bit more and try to narrow down your audience, it actually speaks more authentically to that one specific person that you're trying to reach. When you are specific about that audience, it helps to bring the right people towards your brand, and it essentially magnetizes your brand for the right people to come in. Additionally, with that, it helps to repel the wrong people that you don't want associated with your brand. So if there are certain qualities that you recognize in customers and clients, that you do not want to be a part of your brand, this can be a great way to narrow down that audience, figure out what those core kind of values are. You can use those qualities in order to fuel your marketing.
Yeah. In terms of focusing on the wrong people. So something I learned early on in my business, when I was setting up my business and setting up my website, I was going to focus on e-commerce copywriting because I had experience there. And I knew how to get SEO working for me. So I pretty quickly was ranking on the first page of Google for e-commerce copywriter. The problem is e-commerce is such a broad topic. And so I would get these leads, these emails from people, and it was like, oh, you're an e-commerce copywriter. Can you help me write product descriptions for my website? And then I go look at their website and they literally sell like 10,000 kinds of door hinges. And I was just like, no, I don't want to do this at all. Or I'd have like a boat supply people come to me and I'm just, it's just like, I can't help you. Like, you need somebody who knows this world more than I do. And so that's when I really looked at my branding and took my website from just sort of being kind of a basic and added more pink, pictures of me in furry coats, just sort of leaned into more of who I was so I could attract my ideal clients. And I don't get the door hinge people anymore. And I think because the moment they land on my website, they go, oh no, she can't help me with my door hinges. But the fashion clients, the accessories, the home goods people look at my website and they see the design, they see the color and they go, oh yeah, she knows a thing or two about this. And so that's sort of, even in just that split second decision you make when you land on a website, has helped me weed out the ideal clients from the not ideal clients.
So similarly, I do a lot of content marketing, and through showing up as myself with my face on camera through my content marketing, I was able to actually attract one of my dream clients, which this particular individual is an artist and author. She's the owner of this popular Instagram account. And so she puts out a lot of artwork throughout the year. She proved very quickly to have great client communication, was very collaborative throughout the project. We had a very good working chemistry. I think one of the best things about this client was that she allowed me a lot of creative freedom while also respecting my boundaries and kind of respecting that, she trusted me to put her work in the best light possible. And so through seeing my work, through seeing me show up on camera, I built that trust over time with her. And she really trusted me before we even got into the project, that I could essentially position her work in the market.
That's great. And I think that's something that kind of gets lost a little bit when we start talking about ideal clients and ideal customers, is how are they? Are they easy to work with? Are they what's their communication style? Are they going to text you in the middle of the night, or do they, not email you on weekends? Those sorts of things I think are very important when we're talking about ideal clients. And one of the things, I know sometimes this topic can get a little heady and a little hard to sort of pin down. So we want to talk about some ways to actually use this in a concrete way, how to identify your ideal clients, how to find them, and how to talk to them.
Yeah. And one of the best ways to do this, and often one of the most skipped over steps in this process, is the actual research that goes into finding your ideal clients. You can do this through social media. So if you wanted to put up a poll on your Instagram stories, or even look at the comments of your posts or your competitors' posts, or even take a look at your analytics. There are a lot of different metrics that you can get from all of these different sources. Take notes of all of these different pieces and kind of compile your findings. You can also just talk to people in your market. So if you are selling handbags, for example, there are a specific type of person that might gravitate towards that specific thing. Talk to those people, ask them what colors they like, ask them what styles they like, what brands do they gravitate towards. All of this data is going to be super helpful when you are creating new products, when you are marketing your business, etc. Even if you have a small email list, it's wise to send out a survey to them just to get their input on, the same types of things, like what colors do they like, how often do they buy, what other brands do they follow, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I think research is definitely the first place to start. One of the things I did recently is I went through just my my invoices to look at my past clients and be like, oh, these are these ones I like, and what qualities do they share? And then sort of the less ideal clients, what qualities do they share? And I realized that there are similarities for sure. And some of these elements that come up are like, the number one is that they can afford me and they're happy to afford me, and they appreciate what I do for them. As a copywriter, some people hate writing. It takes them forever. Sitting down to do it is the worst. And so those clients appreciate me. On the other side of it, I also have a client who is a writer, and she's so great to collaborate with. When we're going back and forth on revisions, the ideas she comes up with enhance my writing versus taking away from it. So it works both ways. Those are just some of the things that I like to look for. Easy to work with is a big one. That's sort of, not constantly emailing you, not changing their mind on things when you're sort of in the process of things. And then shares my values is a big one. In terms of, I like to work with sustainable brands. I like to work with even just like heartfelt brands, people that are creating products that they've really spent a lot of time developing, or that are, doing good and putting good out into the world. I really try and avoid working with drop shippers anymore, just because they tend to be a little more like get rich quick, or just, not caring so much about the product and building a brand as much as just trying to sell and make money, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not my ideal client. And on the other side of that is paying attention to the red flags that come up, the not emailing me on weekend thing, doesn't text me. I had, I learned so much from this one client I've been working with for a few months that like, I should have never responded to that text message, because then for the rest of our relationship, he texts me now, even though and I knew it and I shouldn't have done it, but I've learned. So those are some of my personal things I look for, or I try to avoid when it comes to ideal clients.
Yeah, absolutely. I have that actually in my contract too. And maybe we'll do a whole episode about boundaries with clients. That might be an interesting thing to kind of get into, but the texting thing is definitely something that that's like a no-go for me. Like it's in my contracts. Even if a client texts me, I don't respond to texts. Most of the time they don't even have my phone number. I don't give it out really anymore, but yeah, I don't respond to texts at all. And when I do receive a text, the next day I'll send an email being like, hey, like I did receive your text, but just refer, like, as we have in place in our contract, like that's not a valid form of communication for this project. Would be happy to handle those edits for you or whatever they were asking for, and kind of take it from there over email, and kind of try to redirect it that way. But yeah, paying attention to those red flags and kind of sticking to your guns is also like a really hard thing to do in the moment. And it definitely takes practice and persistence with yourself, to kind of like stand up for those things that you will not tolerate in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. We definitely should do boundaries. That would be a great episode. So all of this stuff we've been talking about, again, it's the ideal client stuff gets to be a little esoteric, a little, hard to pin down, but Meg has put together an awesome workbook to help you discover your dream customer. So do you want to tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is called the Discover Your Dream Customer Workbook. Basically, it's a series of exercises where you can fill in your research from your social media research, your analytics, everywhere that you are gathering data about your customers. And it basically gives you a step-by-step process where you fill in the data about your customers. And then it also gives you some space to do some competitor research as well. So you get data about your customers as well as your competitors, and you can learn a lot from that research as well. This is really going to help you to get into your customer's head and think about what kind of problems they are experiencing and how you might be able to help them solve them.
Yeah, that's so great. I think if you've never actually sat down and done writing it out, really sat down and done that sort of thinking and taking a few minutes to go through who your perfect client is, go grab this workbook. We'll put a link in the show notes so you can get it, and just, to start that process, start building your brand the way you're supposed to.
Yeah, absolutely. So that about wraps up finding your ideal client. So thank you guys so much for listening.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. We are a baby brand new podcast, and reviews really help us to grow our audience. We are so grateful to have your support. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay sparkly.